This was discovered by Rabbi Chaim Michal Ber Weissmadel during World War II, where in his suffering and toil, he discovered that the Torah had predicted all of these things in these secret codes. He examined and re-examined his works, and he wrote some of his conclusions on paper in a book called Kerem Chemed. These works were later disseminated by his students and came to the attention of a couple of computer scientists who wanted to take this apart. And instead of taking this apart, discovered that it was true. There are codes in the Torah that defy any kind of mathematical prediction and defy just normal, everyday belief. And so they began to gather the information through the computers to be able to disseminate to the world that indeed the Torah was written by God, and we have evidence, internal evidence, to prove it. Along have come many poo-poors, and they wanted to say that, well, you can find the same thing in the New York Times, you can find the same thing in other books, in Moby Dick, for example. And I've told you in previous videos about the topic, the difference between them is the preponderance of the number of codes and two, the relevancy of the code with that topic on the page. When I first heard about it, I also was skeptical. And I attended a lecture on the subject by one of the students of Rabbi Weissmadel. And in passing, he mentioned that they discovered a code for AIDS in the story of Sodom and Amorah. I know some of you say Gomorrah, but as an aside, the reason why it's called Gomorrah is because I believe that this was a way for the Christians to demonize the Jewish Talmud, which is called the Gemara. It's Sodom and Amorah. It's not Gomorrah. And so I want to tell you, I heard this, and skeptical as I was, I wanted to believe it, but I wanted to discover it for myself. So I tried to discover an equivalent letter sequence that comes and predicts the concept of AIDS in the story of the city of Sodom and Amorah. Let me tell you the story. Two angels came. They came to see Abraham first, blessed him with a child, healed him from his circumcision. The one who told him that he's going to have a child left. There were three of them. Now two were remaining. One was coming to destroy the city of Sodom. The other was coming to save Abraham's nephew Lot. And they come into the city. Lot invites them into their house. They come into Lot's house, and at night, before they go to sleep, the entire male population, from youngest to oldest, bangs on the gate, demanding to see the guests that have come, because they wish to have a good time with them. In our terminology, they wish to sodomize them. As a result of that, those people were blinded, but they refused to give up their quest, and they tried to find the door, to break the door down, but they couldn't find it because they were confused and blind. Now, that was the last straw, because Sodom had become a place not just for sodomizing males, a place of cruelty to all people who wandered there who needed some help, a place that did not wish to give help to anyone, and therefore embarrassed, stole, brutalized any wayfarer that came their way, because they wanted to keep the wealth for themselves. And so the angel said, that's it, we're going to destroy it. Lot tried to get all of his children out. Children who were married refused to go. Talked to his future sons-in-law. Seemed like a joke. Then he decided he's going to save his money, and the angel said, "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here." And so I want to give you a Torah code. Let's see if you can read this. This is a Torah code that is for AIDS, that is found in the portion of the week. AIDS is an English acronym, and therefore is written from right to left. And so in the Torah will appear to be from right to left. And is found in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, after the people of Sodom try to sodomize the angels that appear to them like two men. I'm going to see if you can see this, but this is chapter 19, verses 15, 16, 17, and 18. I looked for a code, and I found one, astoundingly 33 letters apart. Now 33 letters may sound like just an arbitrary number to you, but the number 33 stands for Gal. Gal means to uncover. All illicit sexual relations are called Gilui Arayos, coming from the root Gal, which is uncovering nakedness that is inappropriate. And so this is very appropriate, that the code should be one of Gal, of uncovering nakedness that is inappropriate. And I wondered where I could find the beginning of the code. And I noticed that there's a word here in verse 15 that is called tisafe. Tisafe means to be swept away. It also means to be consumed and destroyed. And there's a dagesh, a dot in the samach, indicating that we should focus there to this tisafe. So it's here, verse 19, right over here. The samach has a dagesh. And I counted 33 letters, and I found in the next verse a dalet. Then I counted another 33 letters, verse 17, and I found a yud. And then I went another 33 letters, and I found an aleph, right over here, otam, in purple. And so it goes aleph, yud, dalet, samach. It goes from right to left in a Torah scroll, because the acronym is an English acronym, which is from right to left. And that's why it's backwards. But there is a Torah code in this week's Torah portion where people try to sodomize other men, and they are punished. Now, what does the angel tell Lot before he chases him away? So he says to him as follows. He says, "Hurry, get moving. Take your wife and 2 daughters." Read it in English. "Take your wife and 2 daughters who are here, and don't get swept away because of the sin of the city." What is the sin of the city? The sin of the city that's apparent here is sodomy, homosexuality. And look what the angel is telling him. If you believe in the universal message, he says, take your wife. You have relations with your wife. And if you're perverted, it's preferable that you be perverted with your daughters than to be like the men of the city, because you will be swept away by the sin of the city. We know the AIDS virus initially started and was spread among homosexual men, and from them it spread to the heterosexual community. The sin of the city